Good afternoon, and welcome to this session on mentoring. When a nursing program makes a decision that it would like to start a nursing mentoring program, there are some key decisions that must be made. First is why. Why do you wish to start a program, and what will be the goals and outcomes? Then there are some structural kinds of decisions that must be made. You must decide upon what is the structure, what is the schedule, when will you start, when will you end? How will you match the mentor and mentee? What will be the learner participation, and what will be the mentor's participation? We will focus now on three basic structures because oftentimes the thinking is that mentoring is one-on-one. And while that is the most common approach to mentoring, it's not the only approach. The one-on-one is most common, and they offer deep relationships between one mentor and one mentee. However, there's a challenge because often there are not enough mentors for all of the mentees. A second structure to be considered is one that is mentor-led. In this structure, there's a small group that is led by one mentor. They may meet for brown bag discussions, and it is one mentor who leads a discussion about a common competency or a skill set. A third basic structure is that of the peer-led mentoring group. And here you have a group of students who come together as a community, and they guide each other. They seek opportunities to grow and develop in a specific area, and they seek to build community with their peers. And now for the rest of our presentation this afternoon, we have three outstanding exemplars of mentoring programs. And they will each describe for you a few outstanding characteristics of their program. I will now ask the first panelist to introduce herself and to describe her mentoring program in terms of how long it has been in existence and why was it started.
Hi, my name is Dr. Norma Quaid, not to be confused with the other Norma that is a speaker here. So if you ask any questions, there's two Normas that are speaking. I am with the Capstone College of Nursing at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and my program is called the Bama L Nursing Workforce Diversity Grant. And our presentation, of course, is a focus on mentorship. But we started this program in Alabama. That's where the Bama comes from. And then the L stands for Latino. And we partnered with the National Association of Hispanic Nursing. And this program was designed specifically for associate degree nurse registered nurses who are Latina and Latino. And we wanted to increase the number of associate degree nurses to baccalaureate. So we wanted to increase the number of baccalaureate nurses. And we also wanted to develop a pipeline for them to come into advanced practice nursing. It is a totally online RN to BSN program. And the students at the end of their baccalaureate degree, we have a BSN to DNP or a BSN, and they can go on into their master's. The curriculum is experiential and it uses a variety of creative techniques. But we started this program because there's a shortage of Latino nurses that are at advanced practice levels or doctoral levels. And we knew that the entry level is at the associate nurse. So we're trying to get them into the pipeline so they can get started with their education. We also knew that there were a lot of barriers, not only social determinants of health, but other barriers that we addressed. So that's what our program is.
Thank you so very much. And now we'll hear from our next program.
Hello, I'm Dr. Diane Breckenridge. I am from Charles R. Drew University in Los Angeles. I came as the dean and professor, and that was in April 2018. And it was at that time that the school itself already had in place success approaches. Their success approaches were working very well because It is a school that is at this time only 10 years old. The university is over 50 years old, but 10 years old. And what had occurred is the pass rate of the Nclex was quite low, and therefore it had to be moved upward. When I got there, it was 84. It had gone above that 75 for California necessity and above the 80 for CCNE. But now it is at 91. At that time, we put forth the Strategies for Success program. That Strategies for Success program is a program that I worked on since way back in 1988. Back then, it was called the New Access Student. It was basically to recruit nurses or those that want to go into nursing that are disadvantaged, under-resourced, underserved. And it goes all the way back to my own health, education, and welfare scholarship that I received in 1971. And I studied this and really wanted to make sure students did not feel that if they had challenges and barriers that they had to overcome, that they did not feel that they had to just be the ones go to a tutor or be the ones that needed remediation. So I brought forth the word success. And the whole idea was in 1994, in my doctoral program at University of Maryland, I therefore looked at all the indicators. And it was at that time that it did become the Strategies for Success program. So today, it has included not just one person. No one could have done this just as one person. All the schools that I have been fortunate to work with, even though I've only been at approximately 4 in my career, it turns out that of those schools, the others that have called me or worked with me or worked with Strategies for Success.
Yes, Dr. Rogers, our third panelist, please. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Dr. Norma Martínez Rogers, and I am from the University of Texas Health Science Center School of Nursing. Our school is a little bit different because our students come to us in their junior year of college and spend the last 2 years with us. So they have already received prerequisites. I started a project called Juntos Podemos, which means Together We Can, in the year 2000. It was actually based on a concept that I had when I was in nursing school at Incarnate Word College. They had a big sister, little sister program. I went to an all-girls school. And so I took that concept and brought it to UT Health Science Center. The Juntos Podemos project was started in 2000, year 2000, and it was predominantly for Hispanics. And the reason I started it is because what I noticed is that it was taking our students, the Latino students, 3 years versus 2 years to finish our program. It was they would have to repeat a semester, or they would have to drop out because of financial reasons or home obligations. Our program is based on the second semester student would mentor the first semester student. All students that were being mentored, the mentors had to be academically successful, and they had to be recommended by a faculty member that they could mentor a student that's they're both undergraduate students. The project was switched over to the Academic Student Success Center because our School of Nursing now funds it, and it was switched over in about 3 years ago. When we've switched it over, we had over 400 students, almost the whole student body was involved. We no longer just stuck with the Hispanic students, because what we found is that there are more similarities than differences. Yes, people walk different shoes and different paths, but those that come from the rural communities, when they come into a big city and have to move into an apartment because we do not have dorms, found it just as equally as difficult to survive in a city as the Latino student who was new also to a predominantly white population school. So as I said, our student now is Academic Student Success Center. We have in it, we have put research scholars who are working with researchers in their undergraduate program. We also have what we call the teaching scholars. And the teaching scholars, we consider them to be the cream of the crop, as they are the ones that give content reviews to students about what it is that they need to know in order to pass the next test. They work very closely with faculty coordinators to do this, and they do not give anything along around the test. The students have to come prepared that are in the content reviews to listen to what the reviewers have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. That's a great example. It sounds as if your program is both a mentor-led program as well as a peer-led program.
Yes.
So I think those were great examples of two different kinds of structures. And now I'm going to ask you a second question, and we're going to ask all of our panelists to respond to this. And the question is, what, in your opinion, have been the three most significant outcomes from your mentoring programs?
So I'll start. This is Dr. Quaid. We actually have, our mentorship program comes from all areas. If you considered the student in the middle in all the different types of mentorship. We have faculty mentorship, we have academic mentorship, we have professional mentorship, we have peer mentorship, and alumni mentorship. And all of these come together have really benefited the students. So that would be my number one. What is an outcome? They are definitely mentored. The faculty mentors are me. When they first call and ask about the program, they talk to a Latino faculty member. There's not many Latino faculty members at the University of Alabama, but they do at least have someone that they make contact with, that we talk with and we discuss. The academic mentorship goes through the Office of Academics and the College of Continuing Studies, which does all their internet access because the program is totally online. And they have someone that they can pick up the phone, and if they can't get through or if they can't figure out a computer, they get logged in and they're synchronous, and they help them through every process. So there's never any type of frustration about why they can't get in. And that's been very successful to have that one person to help. We also promote peer mentorship, and that's mentorship with the students themselves. We encourage them to work with each other and call each other and talk to each other. We tell them that online education is not something that you need to do alone, but they do help each other and mentor each other. Part of this part is that we do require them to come to the National Association of Hispanic Nurses Conference. We give them $1,000. And during that time, they get to meet each other, and that mentorship and that support network develops even stronger. The alumni, we have alumni mentorship, and we have alumni that have graduated from the program, from the BAMA L program, that will work with the students. It's a 4-year program, and we have 20 students per year. We're going to be, this is our last year. But the alumni mentors will say, oh, I took that class. Yeah, you can get through it. You can do whatever you need to do. The other benefits is that we have a required resiliency training program, and students have told us that is the best part of the whole program. But it's a 1 hour per week. It's for 12 weeks. They have to take it before they start their nursing courses. It's called the Ambassadors of Compassion, and it's the RISE program. They journal, they dialogue. It's led by one academic mentor. We usually have about 10 in each group. The other big benefit that we had is we developed a Blackboard mentorship room. So the students can go into their own room, and the faculty can as well, but the students can meet and talk in the classroom. Faculty put in things, support things in there that they can use if they need to. We post information about things, what they can do, and students can meet in their own groups if they want, or have that board's open to them, that room's open to them whenever they need it. And they can do collaborate sessions, they can do study group sessions, or whatever they do. After they start the nursing program, the first semester they have the resiliency training course, and it's only those students. And then they're with the other students. So they'll be with the other students that may not be Latino, but they can always come back to the Blackboard mentorship room, or know that they're Latina, and they can come in and get mentorship. So our program has been very successful. Of the 80 students. One student had to drop out during the resiliency training program because they couldn't find a job. They were going through a divorce, and it was during COVID. So this was just last semester, and we're hoping they'll come back. But we have had 0 students that did not pass. Everybody has passed. Everybody has graduated, and I would say pretty much close to half of them are back in school for their masters. Some are doing a BSN to PhD program. So we have been very, very successful in this program.
Congratulations to you. Those are some great outcomes and a really great model. And so now we're going to go to our next panelist to talk about 3 significant outcomes from your program.
So the 3 significant outcomes at Mervyn and Dymally School of Nursing at Charles R. Drew University. The very first one is that Nclex pass rate, a school that only in 2015 had a 46 pass rate with wanting to close, working diligently, the faculty, the students. I even had been called at that time by the dean who asked about putting forth the strategies for success at that time. At that time, I was at another university right in California. They have worked together with these outcomes. It's the students themselves work individually with a prescription for success. And we all know about learning contracts. That would be the second area. The second area about learning contracts, right away, we made it a success contract. Therefore, students then do not feel as though if they're not meeting an objective or they're not able to continue their plan of study, and with COVID, it has definitely been very important. Nobody is thought of as it's a negative. If for any reason we need to rewrite their study plan, we are doing that. And we are having all of our students meet their objectives as well as finish on time, other than approximately the same amount of students as before COVID situation. So again, we are being very careful in that entire idea of mentoring. It's with the individual students. If they want individual one-on-one with a tutor or a faculty member, then they receive that. We're doing a lot of Zoom and team meetings because of not being able to be right on site. But when we were on site, we have a lovely resource center right in the School of Nursing. And then the groups is our other mentoring approach. And what we're finding is that the students themselves, they want to work together and they want to move on in their education. And just to give that example, we have weekly forums. And when we have the weekly forums, we make sure all the students are invited. And then we make sure that they have any type of breakout meetings. And one example.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you so very much. We're going to move on to our next panelist so
Absolutely.
everyone has a chance to describe their programs. Dr. Rogers, please go right ahead.
Thank you. We actually don't have faculty that are mentors. We have faculty, because these are undergraduate students, we have faculty that are advisors, but the mentors are all driven by students, and they keep the same mentor for the 4 semesters that they're in school, because the alumni, when the student graduates, one of the commitments that he or she makes is that they mentor the 4th semester students. So we always have, it's just keeps going. We have been very fortunate because our dean gave us a designated area, which was quite large, and it was called the Juntos Podemos room. So that's where the students would meet. That's where the students would go and have their gatherings. Now we, of course, do it like everyone else does, and we do it with on Zoom or Microsoft Team. We do have one of our major successes is that even though the school, the entire student body may not have had 100% pass rate in Nclex, Acorn did have 100, Juntos Podemos did have 100% pass rate on Nclex. And over 50% of our students went on to get either their PhD or DNP. I'm happy to say that some of them went on to Boston College with Dean Susan Gennaro and got their PhDs at Boston College and some went on to Penn State. So we have been very, very fortunate. We do have, the students do continue to meet with each other. And it's interesting because as they go on further into graduate school, they do come back in the Alumni Association and share their experiences in Juntos Podemos. And the fact that the dean, I think one of the best things is that the dean supported it financially, which when we started off with grants, we started with $5,000 and then of course went on to HRSA. And the fact that Dean Breslin decided to have an academic student success center and evolve that. And now we have David Bird, who's in charge of it, as I have other grants, but shows a commitment that the school has to this project.
Thank you so very much. And now as we start to close in on our time, the third question I have for you is, what have been the greatest challenges with implementing your program?
Well, for our program, I think one of the major things is overcoming cultural barriers. I've been very surprised to hear how many students do not get support from their families. And it's not that they don't love them or care for them. It's just that once you get a job and you bring in money, that is the priority. So many of these students, the family will say, well, you don't need a job, just keep working. We need you to contribute to the household or whatever. And I've known that has happened, but I didn't realize that it was so prevalent still with these Latino students. The financial needs of the families, because some of these students are older and still have children, and they told us we would not be able to do this without the scholarship that we give them. There was a variety of different age groups in the group, and there's a variety of different experience in the group. That's not a negative, it was a positive. But then to what we did is said, okay, so we've got people that have experience here and not, let's work together and let's support each other. And again, in the last 2 years, it's COVID-19. These are all associate degree nurses. They're working frontline. They started working more hours. Some of them didn't work and ended up losing their jobs. But what we have with our academic mentors, whenever we saw a student getting behind, they would call me or my co-investigator and say, okay, Angelica is getting behind and she hasn't turned in her work. And so we'd call her and we'd say, okay, what's going on and how can we help? And I mean, we made a one-on-one effort to contact these students when they started having trouble. And we also worked with them. One student had an aneurysm while she was pregnant and she was in the hospital, and we gave her some leniency with her grades, and she came back and said, most schools would never have done that for me. And, they're just very, very grateful for that. So COVID-19 provided, our health issues, I should say, provided a lot of concern. We probably had more students that had trouble, and I don't even want to call it trouble, but adversary situations with COVID than from the first 2.5 years. And you can keep up with it because most of these students are very smart and they're ready to go and they've always wanted to do this. There's just been mostly financial reasons that they couldn't do it. So so we had to really sort of be flexible with our program and not be so rigid like we often are as nurses. And if they were late, we'd say, okay, when can you turn it in? And really work with the students. And that was peer support, that was academic support, that was all of the alumni helping them out. So we really worked together to make sure that all these students were successful. That was our goal. And we told them that from the beginning, because they're always afraid, oh my gosh, is this going to be like my ADN program? And it was like, you are here to be successful. And we put that in their head at the very beginning. You will graduate. In 16 months, you will have your baccalaureate degree, or in 9 months or whatever. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You can do it. It's only a year, of the nursing courses. So, So
thank you so very much. And that degree of positive uh, enforcement is so critical to build that persistence that you need for students.
Mhm.
All right, so Dr. Breckenridge, could you please share with us briefly what has been the greatest challenge with implementing your mentoring program?
The major challenge for Mervyn M. Dymally School of Nursing at Charles R. Drew University has been to increase nurses in the SPA 6 area of South Los Angeles. It is a very underserved, under-resourced area with 76% Latinx population. And the goal had been to make sure that we increase nursing. It was 10 years ago that the university went forward to the legislature in California and asked to expand their medical school. And it was Mervyn M. Dymally himself who said, it cannot be the medical school. It has to be to bring forth nurses. So this program of entry-level masters, because it is a predominantly master's university, we are moving that into undergrad. We just got approved. The BSN program will be the first in that area in SPA 6. But the challenge itself has been then to bring forth the amount of nurses. And we've done that with the students, the alumni, the faculty, the community. We're all working together. And by doing that, we have a 97% retention. When I got there, the retention was pretty high still, I have to admit. So it was never real low, but we only had 77, like I said, in this program. We've just got approval, and now we do have 130. We're going to 160. We're going to another 160 with pre-licensure BSN. And those challenges have been turned into an optimistic approach for the entire university.
Yes, thank you so very much for sharing that with us. Dr. Rogers, would you please share with us, what do you perceive as being the greatest challenge with implementing the program that you have?
I think that the biggest challenge, the biggest challenge is always finances. I don't care what school you're at, that if you don't have if you don't start off with a funded project and your school doesn't commit to that project for it to continue to exist after funding is over, then there's a problem. But so I think that that's probably true of everyone. One of the things that we had was very similar to what Dr. Quaid said, which is that of the support that they need from families. So what we did is we started a family orientation program so that families understood what it meant to be in nursing school. When the students come to us in their junior year, it's the families are used, and their support system are used to them taking like history, biology, study, take a test, and that's it. But now it's clinical and all the things that are wrapped up into the obligations that they have for nursing school. So we decided to have a family orientation program. And what we did was we had actually the families of the mentors come and talk about the different as panels, and come and talk to the new students as to changes that needed to be made in their households in order to support the student. And that seemed to do very well. We further took it one step further, and we started having pre-family orientation program, and that is for families that are interested in coming into our School of Nursing. And we talk about finances and how much it costs to stay in school and why they can or cannot work. What is realistic for a student to be able to be successful in our school? Because nursing is extremely competitive. And when you go to a school and the majority of the faculty don't look like you, it becomes very difficult for the student that feels like she might be left out. So that's one of the barriers that I think we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. You have shared such great information about your mentoring programs, how you started them, how they have been operated, the outcomes and the successes, as well as some of the challenges. I heard about the RISE program for building resiliency. I heard about the student success. I heard about the number of students who, once they graduate, they come back and they mentor the students who are still there. So I want to congratulate each of you for building such an outstanding mentoring program. And as we close down today, I'm going to ask each of you very briefly to just give me one short statement of what advice you would give to someone who was just starting out with a mentoring program. Very concise, one statement.
For me, I would encourage the students not to only think about what they need now, but what they need in their long term, and promoting mentorship within the profession, encouraging them. For us, it's the National Association of Hispanic Nurses. And so we introduce them to NAN early on, and we encourage them to continue on with that, to provide them with support throughout their career.
Thank you. Dr. Breckenridge, yes.
Okay. If someone were going to start a mentoring program or any type of success program, my recommendation is that they have a body of knowledge from not just the literature, but by qualitatively interviewing people, focus groups, so that they therefore have a logic model as they're moving forward, whether they're moving forward for those that are able to donate for the programs we need, or they need to move forward into the grant funding, such as HRSA. And I've been very fortunate to be able to mentor others in that area, and others have mentored me. That's how I was fortunate. And therefore, having been able to receive scholarship money for disadvantaged students is the most important thing for someone like myself, as I can give back to others. And I find that the rest of the faculty love to do that too. The students love to get involved, and they want to mentor others, not just in receiving grant money or donorship, but in moving on in their education and coming back and giving back.
Thank you so very much. Dr. Rogers, what would be your one recommendation?
My one recommendation for the nursing school would be for them to do a holistic approach in admissions. That is key in order to be able to get those students that have faced or maybe are more at risk. But what I would recommend to the student is that once you get into the school, find yourself someone that you can partner with. Get to know the upperclassmen. Get to know those who are going to help you. We have a saying in Spanish that says, "Dime con quien andas y te digo quién eres," which means, translated into English, tell me who you hang around with and I'll tell you who you are. And it's very similar to birds of a feather fly together. Hang around with winners, those who have been academically successful, and you will find yourself being academically successful.
Thank you so very much. What wise wisdom. It has been my pleasure to have this conversation with the three of you. It's been just a delight. And I certainly hope that those who look at this video will learn from it, take the pearls of wisdom that you've shared, and move forward with developing their own mentoring programs. Thank you all so very much, and I wish you much continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.